Everything's masked off and ready for painting. Well, here it is a couple days later. Got 2 coats of primer on now. I believe the product is Interlux. It's a 2-part primer, so pretty good stuff. We got 1 more coat of primer to put on. The Angry Meatball's happy he finally got to meet Northern Dancer 5. He'd met Moonshine a bunch of times, but had never met Northern Dancer 5 yet. Well, here we are. First coat of bottom paint has been applied. Got 1 more coat tomorrow. It's the Interlux Micron CSC. That's the paint that's on here. It's an ablative paint. And here's the engine water out. I may have mentioned before, I can't remember, but this rubber flap, which I can barely reach, it was, the flap was gone. The rubber had come off, it broke off, so I just cut a new piece, and that just stops the water from backwashing in if you're in a following sea. But then the water can still come out, and it just pushes the flap. There's our Max Prop all wrapped up. Still got the zinc is on here. Under there, we got to still put the plates on. And what's really exciting is that the through holes are all in. So here's a new guy. This is our bilge pump. Then we go down here. This is the galley sink outlet. And then we move forward. This was the repurposed through hull that is going to be the outlet for the shower sump. Even though we're about the middle of the boat, the shower's up here a ways. It's just I didn't want to put another hole in. May as well repurpose a hole. And right here there was another through hull, but we took it out and glassed it over, and the boot stripes can all be repainted. There was a through hull down here that's been glassed over for that old transducer. There's another one that was somewhere around here that's been glassed over. So you can't even tell where it was anymore. And then we move forward, and this is the one here is for the head sink outlet, the toilet outlet, and that is the water inlet for the toilet. So the inlet's forward of it, which is nice. So, but we have a big holding tank that we use anyways. But that is for toilet straight out if we needed. And coming around the front, they still got to do a little touch up in the tunnel there for the bow thruster. Now there's some exciting things on this side. There's only 2 through hulls on the starboard side of the boat, well below the waterline. There's the scuppers at the back, but here we have that transducer through hull with the Tridata, and this is exciting. This is the water inlet for the engine. And it's kind of hard to tell the size, but I want to show you. Here's the old. So they've enlarged the hole and put a larger through hull in just to get as much water flow as we can. But when you look at the size of the through hull that we had before. Like, you can see how tiny the grade is for it. So it was a pretty small little through hull. Like, here's the grate size. So you can see it was pretty tiny. And now we've got this much larger through hull and much larger grate, so we're going to have really good water flow in here now. That won't be an issue. Well, it wasn't an issue before, but more water the better when you're talking about the water for the engine. They're also going to move all the stands tomorrow, get things primed, and bottom paint. Here's like an older, or here's the old through hulls. There's one here and one on the other side. These are for the deck scuppers. So they're massive through hulls on the other side. Big, huge hoses, and they go up to the deck. And then there's another zinc plate that will go right here on starboard. And that's it. That's the update. Well, now you've seen some of the progress being made on the bottom. So Valley Yacht Services is doing all the work from the waterline down, basically. The sanding the hull down, the 3 coats of primer, the 2 coats of Micron CSC, pulled out all the other through hulls I wanted out, put the new through hulls in, glassed over some through hulls that were no longer being used. So they're doing all that stuff, which has been great because I'm working full time at the same time as this haul out. And the progress that I have made is the top cap rail for the bulwarks, and that's the teak tow rail, basically, I guess, top cap. So I've got it all stripped, sanded, ready for varnish, and that's what I'm going to be doing hopefully this weekend, starting to varnish it. It's going to take a lot of coats. I'll show you really quickly what I've done for the that top cap, and I'll spin the camera around and let's take a look. Now there's a bunch of seams, like this one here, and this one over there, and some of the caulking has pulled away, so I'm going to dig all that out, recaulk it, and I'm just using the same caulking that they use on teak decks. And maybe it's Teak Systems, I can't remember. Here's another example. You can see it's actually pulled away on the right here, so that's got to all be recaulked if I want this done right. So I will do that. There's a little mark there. I'll sand out. Yeah, anyways, that's what I'm going to work on next. But here's just a quick look at the top cap, all done. And more seams like this one. You can see it's pulled away. So I'll dig all that out, recaulk it. I've done the grab rails. This is all on port. Done those. Yeah, anyways, I did this all the way up the port side, and starboard side's done as well. All the way down. So that's all that I have been doing on the boat so far, and everyone else, the yard, Valley Yacht Services, is doing stuff below the waterline. So this is a lot of work to strip the varnish, sand it down with 80 grit, then 220, and just getting into all the little nooks and crannies, pulling hardware off to get under it, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to look great. I'll tackle the 3, you can see the 3 boards here. I'm going to tackle that next year. And things like the hatch I can do whenever. I can do the trunk. these belaying pegs and set up here. I can do later the butterfly hatch, the companionway cover on the forward of the Dodger. So yeah, lots of stuff I still need to do, but I got to start somewhere. So I thought start with the top cap for the full works here. I thought I'd better show you the product I'm using. So it seems to be the industry standard is this teak decking systems. It's SIS 440 teak deck caulking, and I don't know if there's a better product out there, but this apparently is the one that the majority of people use. I'm ready to start putting the caulking into the seams. I've taped them all off. I'll just show one side of the boat. Looks the same on both sides. Well, pretty much. So wherever there's a seam, I've taped. And then I'll just put the teak systems caulking into those butt joints. There's another one. You can see. Get a good idea what it's like. And then at the back, there's a few pieces. Those are very curved. So we got one here, and then a couple for this fancy piece at the back. So yeah, I'll put the caulking in the seams and let it sit, I think, for about 40 minutes before I can peel the tape. I've pulled all the tape off the teak caulking and trimmed it. Looks pretty good. And then this is the first coat of Epithane's clear varnish. I thinned it out like probably 70% mineral spirits and 30% varnish. So I want these first coats to really penetrate. So everything's masked off. This will be the first coat. Here's another seam. So they turned out alright. I pulled down the stanchions so I could get in behind and like here. Just make sure I can get in there for varnishing, and I had to sand a little bit there still, but here's another seam. So that stuff's pretty easy to use. And they're not perfect, but they're better than what they were. Another seam. And all the way to the back. Other side's all set to go as well. And I better keep varnishing now that I've started. And this is the first coat. Here's what the wood looks like just sanded on the grab rail. So that's what it looked like. So it darkens it up, but that first coat is really thin, as I mentioned. So, oh, it's a huge mess back here. Go to the other side. Got to be really careful. There's no stanchions or lifelines, and I'm way up. This is still a bit wet. I just went from the bow to the stern to the bow. Ah, you can see that's still wet. That's what it looks like when it starts to dry. A lot of people ask, how do you paint under the stands? The stands used to be right here and over there on that spot. So basically just you get new stands and you move it. It's not overly complex. And then now they're doing the primer, and then they'll do the 3 coats of primer and then 2 coats of the Micron CSC. Good morning. Today is splash day, so super exciting, but I have a lot of cleanup to do. Alright, sea trial is done. Everything's running good. We're at the fuel dock. We're tied up behind this harbor airplane. This is Jesse, the mechanic.
Hello.
He did all the work on the engine, the through hulls. Not one is leaking. Oh, this is the fuel dock guy at the end. 2 thumbs up.
Don't trust Jesse.
He says don't trust Jesse.
Obviously.
But he trusts him. So we're tied up against this. We're going to wait for the plane to go, then we'll pull ahead. Well, I'm on my way back to Ladysmith. I got about 2.5 hours. It's about 17 miles, but the GPS says 2 hours and 45 minutes. And pretty calm out. I'm just going to run the engine anyways and get back there. Got to work tomorrow. Went out for the splash went really well. Checked all the through hulls, no leaks. Checked the engine work. Jesse came out, the mechanic came out on the boat for a little sea trial for an hour or ish. Then we went to the fuel dock, topped up the port side fuel tank with 160 liters. So we carry 500 liters total, so about 250 each tank. And it's beautiful out. Everything's great. It's awesome, and I just wish Devlin was here. That would make it better. Well, I am back at the marina, and it's actually the next day. I got in around 7 p.m. My daughter came down with her boyfriend, and they drove me back to Maple Bay to pick up my car. And yeah, by the time I got back after that, it was a bit late for doing the final filming of the trip. Yeah, anyways, I hope there's some good footage for the haul out. I didn't do a ton of filming, but hopefully it gives you a little bit of an idea of what was done and the progress that was being made. And I'll try and get out and do some filming with the boat away from the dock, because that's when I really enjoy doing it the most. I'm going to continue doing the varnish work. I'm only 2 coats in. I got like 10 or 12 more coats to go. So I'll keep doing that back at the marina here, and oh, I'm heading to Yellowknife in a week, so going to see Devlin, so that'll be exciting. And just for a little visit, then back, and the next day I go right back to work from when I return. So yeah, it just seems like there's not enough days to do all this stuff. But we'll see you on the next video when hopefully I'm away from the dock again. But this time for something that's not maintenance related.